Topping today's news, the government releases its procurement report, but the opposition is not impressed. The North Abaco Member of Parliament back in court today facing charges of rape and threats of death. Today is the deadline to apply for the PLP and F&M nomination for the coming by-election, and another traffic fatality, this time on the island of Andros. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It is a pleasure to have you join us. With the contract procurement report released late Sunday night, Financial Secretary Simon Wilson said to expect more frequent disclosures of contract awarded by the government, explaining that there were a number of reasons for the delay in the report's release. One of the most frequently raised critiques by the official opposition and its leader, Michael Pintard, is the lack of transparent and consistent reporting concerning government-awarded contracts. Mr. Wilson also addressed the question as to why the report does not include contracts awarded since the start of the Davis administration from September 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
The previous portal that was inherited didn't capture information. Okay. So that requires a lot of manpower to put that data in. The government decided to upgrade and enhance the Procurement Act. So we have a new act that came into force July 1st, 2023. In addition to that, prior to that, the government made some investment on the procurement portal to capture information properly. Previously, we didn't have the ability to capture information comprehensively. Now we have the ability, so we're now able to publish. And this will be the first of a regular series of publication. There was a slight delay as we get ministries and departments and agencies to be sensitive to the importance of putting information into the portal. I think we have accomplished that greatly, and so you'll be seeing more and more publications of contracts over the period going forward.
Since the report's release, it has received criticism, notably from the official opposition and the Organization for Responsible Governance, which commended the government for the report, but highlights the lack of information as it concerns location of performance, address of businesses, as well as information on contracts funded by international funding agencies. Again, Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard not accepting the Ministry of Finance procurement report, calling the report half-baked and sad and incomplete. The report was released on Sunday night. Mr. Pintard says it fails to provide essential information.
The Ministry of Finance released an incomplete procurement report. Even with it being well late, this so-called procurement report simply does not provide the required information that the Prime Minister is legally required to provide to the Bahamian public. Even in something so straightforward and basic, this PLP government has failed to follow the law in the presentation of this report in a number of instances. First, we have no information provided on any procurement from September 2021 to August 2022. Although the government still has a legal obligation to provide this information consistent with the law enforced at that time. Second, it would seem that none of the contracts awarded by the state-owned enterprises such as NIB, the Public Hospitals Authority, Water and Sewage, or the University of the Bahamas are included in the report. This information is required by the Public Procurement Act 2023.
Mr. Pintard said during the procurement period, the government awarded multi-million-dollar contracts he questions why they were not documented.
There are clear examples of significant contracts that were awarded during the reporting period that were simply left out in the report. One such example is the award of a multi-million-dollar and a multi-year contract by the Ministry of Transport for navigational aids to a company that seems to have had no such experience in a project of that size and scale. Is there a reason why the government has hidden this particular contract? The law is clear. Section 75(2)(a) says that the government must include all procurement contracts in its reports. Why is the government continuing to keep the details of select contracts from the public? What is there to hide?
The FNM leader is calling for Prime Minister Davis to be held accountable and answer to the lack of content that was released in the report. He is demanding that Prime Minister Davis comes to Parliament at the next sitting with a full and proper procurement report, showing all contracts by the government agencies and state-owned enterprises for the period September 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023. Mr. Pintard further adds that the government must also begin to follow the law and put all relevant government jobs out for competitive bidding and publish the contracts, the winners of those contracts, within 60 days, consistent with the legal requirements. Member of Parliament for North Abaco, Kurt Cornish, returning to the Magistrates Court today for the service of a voluntary bill of indictment. The Member of Parliament, who has been accused of rape and threats of death, stood before Chief Magistrate Roberto Reckley. MP Cornish, a former parliamentary secretary, was first charged on August 9th with indictable offenses including 2 counts of rape, 2 counts of assault, and 1 count of threats of death against his former girlfriend. Several incidents related to the charges, according to the prosecution, allegedly took place in Cooperstown, Abaco, and here in New Providence between January 20th, 2023 and April 4th, 2023. On April 7th, the female reported the alleged acts to the police on Freeport, Grand Bahama. The voluntary bill of indictment ultimately moves the case from the Magistrates Court to the Supreme Court. Mr. Cornish, who was not required to enter pleas to the charges when he was arraigned, will now be able to enter a plea in the Supreme Court. He is out on $9,000 bail, and he has to sign in to the police station. Cornish is being represented by attorneys Owen Wells and Anthony McKinney. With the state funeral and burial of late Cabinet Minister, Member of Parliament Obi Wilscombe completed, political parties and independent candidates are now in full political mode as the by-election for the West Grand Bahama and Bimini seat is now imminent. There has been a lot of attention surrounding the potential candidate for the Progressive Liberal Party and who would be eligible and not eligible to apply. Well, on Sunday, PLP Secretary General Barbara Cartwright invited all interested PLPs in good standing to apply before today's midnight deadline. Up to news time, former Member of Parliament Shane Gibson and Chief Passport Officer Kinsley Smith have reportedly applied for the PLP nomination. There are unconfirmed reports that Mr. Smith, a former FNM who joined the PLP in 2020, is the preferred choice for the party, while Mr. Gibson is quoted as saying that he is the choice of the people in that constituency. As for the Free National Movement, the party set an application deadline for today at 5 p.m. The Central Council will then ratify a candidate. Jcn also understands that leader of the Coalition of Independents, Lincoln Bain, has indicated that he would contest the West Grand Bahama and Bimini seat in the by-election. There are also unconfirmed reports that independent candidate Tennille Burrows is also considering contesting the by-election, although in August she launched a bid to contest the Elizabeth seat in the next general election. The general public expects to learn of the PLP and FNM candidate selections within the next 24 to 48 hours. Following 2 video clips, each approximately 3 minutes in length, that shows 2 police officers at the Central Police Station on East Street North having a verbal disagreement on who should be relieved of their duties and who should be in possession of the police diary going viral on Sunday. Both officers have been placed on administrative leave. According to Deputy Commissioner of Police Limon Delavo, the unidentified male and female officers involved in the incident that ended with the female officer who was sitting in a chair with wheels being rolled outside onto the porch of the police station. They are both being investigated.
Let me say to members of the press that this incident allegedly took place sometime during the early hours of Saturday morning, which is yesterday morning. Upon receiving this video clipping that went viral, being responsible for discipline, I immediately had my team, Complaints and Corruption Branch, conduct an investigation. The investigation is ongoing, and I wish to advise you members of the press and the public that we will complete this investigation very, very shortly, and at the end of the day, we will let the chips fall where they may.
Deputy Commissioner Delavo reminds us that a majority of police officers are excellent civil servants.
I also wish to advise the press that 99% of the police officers are good, decent, hard-working officers who on a daily basis continue to go beyond the call of duty, assist and to make sure that the public is safe and residents visiting our country. We are very, very appreciative of their efforts, and we say to continue. However, members of the press, where we see unethical behavior by police officers, we will use whatever force is reasonably necessary to ensure that those officers are dealt with very quickly. We do not, and we will not, under any circumstances, condone bad behavior of our police officers.
Deputy Commissioner Delaveau reiterated that he is unable to comment any further on the matter, only to say that the 2 officers involved have been removed from active duty pending the outcome of the investigation. And finally, in this segment, people employed with the government's 52-week work program are without pay due to late payments within the Ministry of Public Service. Giving an update on the matter while speaking with reporters on the sidelines of the opening of the University of the Bahamas Culinary Arts Week, the Minister of Labor and Public Service, Pia Glover says all 1,400 individuals should see their salaries in their bank accounts by the end of the day.
Okay, so there have been delays in payment. The last payment was made last week, Tuesday, and the next payment was due Friday, so it's going to be paid today. We are, as I've said so many times before, working on a process of digitization so that these legacy issues of 52-week workers and workers in general having to wait on pay can be done away with. In terms of our payroll issues, it's still manual, it's still multi-agency in terms of public service does our part, the Ministry of Finance, and of course the Treasury has to do their part. So we are trying to work through the kinks, but like I've said before, it's no excuse. People put in a good day's work, they should get a good day's pay. Today, the 52-week workers that should have been paid on Friday past will be paid.
Minister Glover says her ministry is doing all that they can to rectify this problem of late payments.
Well, the next course of action is we're analyzing the process. I think we've made some improvements between last pay period and this one. We have meetings this week with the Ministry of Finance, Public Service and Treasury combined so that we can address the issues that we noted has occurred. And you would know that every time a new cohort comes on, it seems to be some kinks when it comes to payroll. We have to do away with that. There's no excuse for it in terms of it being an operational issue. If we know that it's continuing to happen, we have to fix it. And that's the bottom line, so that we aren't inconveniencing our employees.
That was Minister of Labor and Public Service, Pia Glover. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.